welcome back to Gowerton Parkway. You join me today for a video where we're going to cover off a few things. First thing we're going to cover off is a new locomotive which has been added to the fleet. Second thing we're going to cover off is a piece of information regarding Talbot Lane TMD. And the third thing we're going to do, there's going to be a small giveaway at the end of this video, so stay tuned for that and participate if it's something you'd like to do. So the first thing I'm going to cover off is the new locomotive. Now, as you can see in front of you, there's a box for a Bachmann Deltic. Now, this locomotive is a 21 pin model and it's something that I've been wanting to add to my fleet for a long time. Now, Deltics are obviously one of the most iconic locomotives that have ever run on our railways, and I thought that, you know, my collection needed one to be complete. So, obviously, as you know, the period that I run the layout from sort of the end of the 90s through to about 2007 time. So I needed something that would have been running on the main line at that point, and I needed something that was going to be interesting for me, something that's good to look at, and something that I could run on my charter trains. So there were a few options that I could have gone for. So I decided what I would do, I'd go for the most controversial one that I possibly could. Now, not being one to do unboxing videos, this is what we've bought. So this locomotive is Gowerton Highlander D9016 or 55016, and this model is representing the locomotive in its time when it was in its controversial Porterbrook livery. Now, as many of you will know, this locomotive caused a bit of a stir at the time when it was painted into this livery. It wasn't popular with a lot of people. I think, you know, it's the only thing that I could liken it to, it would be like putting John Terry in a Manchester United shirt. It's that outrageous what they did with the Deltic, but I just had to have it. So what I'll do, I'm going to take you around the locomotive a bit more, and you can see it. So this locomotive, one of the controversial things that happened with it was the fitting of Y-pack lighting. So it completely changed the visual appearance of the front of the locomotive, which didn't go down well with a lot of the purists. Now this locomotive has been converted to include that, and I think it's been very nicely done. This locomotive hasn't been one that's done by myself. It's been one that I've purchased from eBay through a very well-known seller on there that does a lot of repaints and reworks to a high standard. Now, I consider myself to be quite a good resprayer. I can respray to a high standard, I can paint to a high standard, but this is on a different level. It's absolutely stunning. The finish is really crisp, and it's almost a factory finish, to be perfectly honest with you. There were a couple of little issues with it, but nothing major. And I'll show you some more close-ups of the locomotive so you can see exactly what we're working with here. So this is a front view of the locomotive, and you can see how much those Y-packs change the appearance of the front of this iconic engine, and I can see why it would have upset a lot of people, but you know, sometimes change is quite good, and this one upset a lot of people, I know, but I think it's pretty cool, to be honest with you. As I'm sure you're aware, I buy most of my sound equipment from Roads Rails. I decided then, following the receipt of a recent package containing some mega bass speakers, which I tend to exclusively use for my sound fleet, I would have a go at Richard's new EM2 speaker fitting service. Now, he put this leaflet in the package, obviously to try and entice me to go ahead with it, so I did. And the locomotive's been with Richard for a couple of weeks now. He has stripped it down, installed the EM2 speaker by milling out the chassis, etc., and has done an absolutely fantastic job with it. Now, Richard also, when he looked at the locomotive, decided that there were some issues with the lighting. There was light bleed, etc. with them, and they'd been wired up in a bit of a weird fashion, and Richard took it upon himself to correct all of that for me. He's even installed a couple of new LEDs which help the locomotive look better, and he's also noticed that on the fuel tanks underneath the locomotive there was a fingerprint where obviously the repainter had accidentally picked up the locomotive whilst the paint was still wet. This was something that I'd noticed and was going to correct myself, but he said to me that whilst the locomotive was stripped down he'd do it for me, which he's kindly done. So what I'll do, I'll upload a couple of stills now of the locomotive going through the process of actually being worked on. I'll put a couple of stills up as well that show you the actual wiring that's within the locomotive. You can see how complex the wiring is, and this was one of the reasons that I decided to get Richard involved, because I was not brave enough to mess around with the wiring for those lights. I know it gave Richard a bit of a headache, but as with everything you ask him to do, he's managed to solve it and get it sorted. I'll put some stills up now, and then we'll go over to some running shots of the locomotive. So here we are back in front of the layout, Gowerton Parkway. I've just put the locomotive outside of the depot. I'm going to just fire her up now for you so you can have a listen and see what it sounds like. So that's the locomotive fired up. I'll put it in drive lock and open her up. Okay, so I think you'll agree that sounded pretty damn impressive. The actual vibration that comes off the loco is amazing. The speaker just chucks out so much sound, it's incredible. The baseboard actually vibrates, and these baseboards are built into the frame of the loft. So as I was standing there watching that be filmed, I was propped up against one of the loft beams and I could feel the loft beam vibrating. It is that good. It's absolutely outstanding. The part at the end there where it suddenly sounded like it was a motorbike was because in fact there was a motorbike outside. For some reason we get Valentino Rossi coming flying backwards and forwards up and down our road on a constant basis. It's crazy, but that's another story. So what I'll do now, I'm gonna actually get a run in and I'll show you a few running shots. So I've coupled the locomotive up to my rake of Heritage Mark 1s and I'll demonstrate a running around pulling those. One thing I haven't mentioned previously is that this locomotive is carrying a Legoman Biffo sound file, and that sound file was also put onto the chip by Richard at Roads Rails. Now, as I mentioned at the start of the video, we were going to be doing a small giveaway today. The giveaway is in conjunction with the Swansea Railway Modellers Group, and it concerns their 9th Model Railway exhibition this year. The show is between the 6th and 7th of October, and it runs between 9 and 5 on both days. Now, the team down at the club have kindly donated 2 tickets to the YouTube channel, which are to be raffled out. So I'll just give you some details on how you can win the tickets. To be in with a chance of winning the tickets, you just need to be a subscriber to this channel, and you need to comment below Swansea Model Railway 2018. Our winner will be selected at random next Tuesday, so get your entries in before 9 PM on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday I'll release a video that confirms who's actually won. I'll try and contact that individual then via personal message on YouTube, and we will arrange for the tickets to be sent over to you. Tickets will come in an email form, and you'll be able to redeem them for your proper tickets at the door of the show. Now, for further information on the show, if you visit srmg.org.uk/2018-show, I'll give you full details of the layouts that are going to be there. I'll be taking my Talbot Lane TMD layout, and there's plenty of other stuff there. I know personally one of the layouts I'm looking forward to seeing is the Oldham TMD, which is a huge TMD layout, sort of right up my street, a little bit before my era, but I can't wait to see that. And yeah, it's going to be well worth coming down even just to see that, to be honest. So, as I mentioned, Talbot Lane is going to be there. If the winner of the competition makes himself known to me, I'm sure we can arrange for you to have a little go on Talbot Lane as well. Now, this leads me to the next part of the video, which is an announcement regarding the future of Talbot Lane. Now, as I mentioned, there was going to be a change and an update with regarding Talbot Lane TMD. We're having quite a big change. In fact, the change is that the layout will no longer be under my ownership as of the 13th and 14th of October. The layout is being taken on by my good friend Dan Stanbridge, who is also the operator of the Peakdale layout, which features on YouTube. Now, the layout is going to be handed over to Dan at the Great Electric Train Show on the 13th and 14th of October, and he's going to be making some changes. I'm not going to be telling you what they are. I'll let Dan do that. Dan plans to release a video on YouTube either tonight or tomorrow, which will explain what his changes are going to be, and hopefully you can go over to his channel, subscribe, and continue to watch the Talbot Lane TMD and see all the different things that are going on there and the changes that he's making. Now, Dan does plan to continue to exhibit the layout where possible. We've got one exhibition booked for it at the moment, which is Worley in 2021, and I'll be going along with Dan, who is kindly allowing me to come with him and operate the layout at the Worley show. So yeah, make sure that you go across to his channel, subscribe, watch his video that he's going to put out, and have a look at some of his other content. He operates a lot of modern image stock, a lot of stuff over there that's really good that you should be interested in if you're interested in my layouts. So go over there, have a look, and see what he's doing. As I mentioned, there should be a video going out pretty much today or tomorrow from what he's made me aware. So I'd like to wish Dan good luck with Talbot Lane TMD. Dan's going to be with me at the Swansea show as well, so if you're down at the Swansea show, do make yourself known to myself and Dan, and we can have a chat with you about the layout and just talk you through it, and you can speak to Dan as well about the changes he's hoping to make. So I'd like to thank you all then for your views and continued support and subscriptions. I'm conscious the early September update, I haven't replied to any of the comments on that video yet. It is on my to-do list, and I will be replying to every single comment, so I do apologise for the delays, but I'd like to continue to thank you for all your support. Don't forget, come along to the Swansea show, enter the giveaway, and hopefully I'll get to speak to you all soon. Cheers, bye bye.